Hello, dear listeners. Get ready for the third season of SIMS official podcast Anubhav. My name is Anusha Gupta, Junior Branding Coordinator of the Branding Cell. I will be your host for the fifth episode of Anubhav 3.0, the last and final episode of this season. We understand the importance of a summer internship in an MBA student's journey and how it can shape one's career and future. Every student strives to get SIP in their preferred company and the desired job role. The branding cell has conceptualized these weekly doses of interviewing discussions to give you a deeper understanding of the SIP processes. We have some of our seniors on board to talk their SIP journey. We hope this will help you in your SIP preparations. In our previous episode, we had Ms. Sunana Thapa and Ms. Shreya Chaudhary SIP, if you haven't listened to the seasons of Anubhav, I would highly suggest you give it a listen as well. The previous episode was about SIP process of operations domain. Let's begin with today's episode of Anubhav 3.0. Today on the podcast, I would like to welcome our guest for today's episode, Ms. Sayantani Bera. Shantani ma'am joined MBA in SIMS Pune in the year 2019 with a work experience of 2 years as a software developer in TCS. She did her SIP from Google and is presently working in Dell Technologies. I thank you ma'am for accepting the request to be on the podcast. Today, we will be listening about the SIP journey of our guest from human resource specialization and how shall the students prepare for their SIP processes. Hello ma'am. Thank you for accepting the request.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here. Wish you a very good evening, firstly. And so as I was just informally talking to you about this, that I have been talking about my experience, my internship experience, my rest of the interview experience with many people informally. But this platform, I think, is a good way where more and more people can maybe benefit in some way, and maybe they can also help each other in a better manner by sharing this video and maybe some insights that I can give.
Thank you, ma'am. So starting with the podcast, my first question is, beginning with the questions, ma'am, how was your experience interning with Google, a company many students aspire to work for? And how has this opportunity helped you in shaping your career? Yes, ma'am.
Obviously the experience was amazing, and what we generally think of the Google offices, the Google food, the Google game boards and everything. So those things I obviously didn't get a chance to experience because my entire internship was virtual, and I was like 2 months just passed on, and I was just sitting in front of the system. But even the virtual internship experience was so amazing that I can't explain. I can't even imagine that what would have been the experience if I would have actually gone into their offices and worked with them in person. So the experience was extremely enriching, learning wise, and it actually gave me a direction in my career, because when I joined my MBA, I was just having one clarity that I wanted to be into HR. I was not really having much of a clue, like what are the various verticals of HR, what is talent acquisition. Obviously we knew the overall working and everything, but I felt like HR in general was very homogeneous. So the specifics of each vertical was not very clear to me. But since I was selected for a staffing intern role in Google, and I was working as a staffing intern there, so that is where I started learning about what recruitment is, what talent acquisition is. And today I'm working in Dell as a talent acquisition specialist, as a senior analyst there. And I mean, that was my stepping stone into the talent acquisition field altogether. And I can't thank Google enough for that. The kind of projects that we were working on, I mean, that all of us were given. I mean, those were, out of the box. I mean, extremely innovative. I'll tell you about my project. The project that I was given was how do we increase the percentage of people with disabilities in the software engineering space. So this is a very research oriented topic. And when the entire industry is only thinking about gender diversity, that is where Google is already thinking about the people with disabilities, people who are having different sexual orientation. I mean, the diversity on a much larger scale, just not on the basis of gender, but coming out of the box. So you get that kind of a feeling that you're working 2 steps ahead of time. And the projects that the company that you're working for, they are going to be followed by the rest of the industry in the coming years. And so that is the satisfaction which it gives you. And the kind of work that you get to do there, the kind of people you get to meet there, I mean, that is also something which makes immense difference in your in any internship or in any job experience. And for me, luckily, that was extremely enriching, extremely beautiful with Google.
Yeah, it's good to hear, ma'am, that in spite of the virtual internship, you had a good experience. So, ma'am, my next question is, what was your experience related to the SIP processes that happened in the campus?
So ideally, the SIP processes are, the SIP interviews, they start, hardly 2-3 months we are into the system. I mean, into the MBA B school environment, and we do not get much time to groom ourselves. We are just, newbies there, and specifically as a SIM student, we all go through orientation, and the orientation actually did help a lot, I must say, because we didn't exactly get the time to take our time to be accustomed to the B school environment. We just thrown into the system, and that is why, as after the orientation, when the actual classes started, we knew where we want to be. So it was a surprise when we were told that so and so company is coming the next week. So the process obviously was extremely smooth. I mean, the placement cell, I mean, being a part of the placement cell, I'll always be very grateful. So, and again, I know how smoothly the cell works. I mean, how smoothly the entire team works to to bring out an entire process into place. So I knew that the process was, I have be I mean, not only me, neither none amongst us in the entire batch had a clue like how many rounds of interview are going to be happen. So luckily for us, we had a few seniors also who had interned in Google in the previous year. So we immediately rushed to them for their help, and like at least to get understand how many rounds are going to be there, and what is exactly going to be the process. And after their help, it was all onto the placement team, and the process was definitely very smooth, very conceptualized in a way that it's easy for us to understand, because we all come from various different backgrounds. I'm an engineer, somebody is coming from somebody who's not having any clue. The process in general, I mean, from the company's side as well as from the college's placement cells uh, side, was very smooth. So we didn't really feel any kind of a hiccups, like, or maybe challenging. I really don't have the clarity as for any other company's process whenever the placement cell conducts. It was as flawless as that.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Yeah, my third question is, as your specialization in MBA was human resources, what were the different levels of interviews that you went through? Do the levels vary in different companies?
Yeah, actually, in HR, you are mostly they judge you as a person. You do not have much of an technical based questions are not really there. So what they actually assess you is on how your personality is, if you are actually emotionally capable to handle that position, because you have to manage people at the end of the day. So any people facing role comes with its own set of challenges, and you have to be emotionally well structured. You need to have your thought process, you need to have your the way you work, that way you do not falter somewhere. So they check you on behavioral questions majorly. So most of the interviews I mean, I hardly, I, I mean, I didn't get much chance to appear for the interviews. Very early in my, very early into my B school journey, I got placed, and then finally, even during the final placements, I didn't get. I mean, I didn't really exactly appear for the interviews because I took placement for some placement. I got placed somewhere else much before the placement season actually started. So, I mean, though the process, the interview, I have not really faced many interviews, but all the interviews that I have really seen or I have been, part of, I've seen that majorly for an HR, interviewer, it's very important that they ask you situational and behavioral questions, and there you cannot just you cannot answer only on the basis of your theoretical knowledge. You really need to have that kind of a you need to be that kind of a person, and they will judge you by the kind of honesty that you show. So it's very important. The most important thing, I mean, even before you prepare yourself, you have to be prepared, that you have to be honest in front of the panel, that whatever kind of solutions that you give, you yourself are convinced, you yourself are going to follow that, and they are very smart people at the end of the day. Because I'll tell you one instance that my two interviews with Google were for 1.5 hours. So I mean, the kind of questions that they were giving throwing at me, I didn't really understand those were questions or just part of a conversation. It was a very seamless conversation. So you will not even understand on what basis are they judging your answers or on what basis they are scoring you. So it's very important that you have that positive attitude, that if I'm going there, I'm going to crack this interview. I own this interview, and I just be honest, because even if you're giving some kind of a solution and you just think that maybe this is something which a theory has stated somewhere, and you're not really convinced, I mean, they will catch hold of it, and the next follow-up question you're going to be caught. So I mean, honesty and having a very positive attitude towards any problem that they throw at you, any hypothetical situation that they throw at you, just think that, yeah, okay, fine. It might really be very surprising that, okay, is this? But yes, in actual world, you will face such problems. So this is a very out of the box question. I really don't know what kind of a solution I must propose to this, but they actually throw real world problems at you, and they just prepare you to face those once you are actually into the corporate world.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, my next question is, what were your preparation strategies to deal with the rigorous interview processes? What areas did you focus more to prepare for the process? Like any quick guide you can give?
Yeah. So as I said, that we were hardly 2 months old into the B school system, and we know the syllabus that we were having, it was common for all the branches. I mean, we were just going through the basics of management, and we really didn't have much of HR subjects into our curriculum till then. So I mean, when I got to know that this is so I knew that not even before, I mean, even before the day, suddenly we will be knowing that this company is coming to the campus, and we'll just have to appear for the interview. How do I expand my knowledge at that point? Bookish knowledge is also important, because any practical, I mean, even if you're given a situation or a behavioral question, applying the theory to that, I mean, a practical, I mean, a theory which is very bookish, maybe applying, just quoting that theory in your answers can also make a difference, because everybody is going to give generic answers to the questions, but your the bookish knowledge then sets you apart from them. So I went on to Coursera and Udemy, and I started going through all the online courses. Honestly, the online courses was a stepping stone, because the foundation, because till then we didn't really have the subjects into our curriculum. We didn't have any clue what are the how do we exactly address HR related questions. So anything, any article that I found which is relevant to human resources in any way, I used to read. I used to read everything. I used to learn everything. I mean, at least maximize my learning at that stage. And then before the interviews, obviously referring to the past experiences of the seniors who have already interned there, because apart from the bookish knowledge obviously it is going to help you to frame your answers, but the way you deliver it, that is your experience. And mock interviews can help you, because we amongst ourselves, we used to help each other taking interviews, at least a basic introduction. How do we introduce ourselves in a proper manner? Because introduction also makes a very huge difference in your interview. I mean, we all very, very, very eagerly, quickly ignore that part. But even before you brush up on your basics, please prepare a very strong bio of yourself. If somebody asks you to present yourself in 10 minutes, be prepared for that. If you're given 30 minutes, you should be prepared that in 30 minutes, I must be having some content to talk about myself. Even if somebody gives you 2 minutes, so you must have that content ready. So I mean, working on your strengths and weaknesses, I mean, the SWOT analysis, what we actually read in these textbooks, just applying that in real life. So I mean, all these things. So what I just said, I mean, I'll just conclude in bullet points. First, going through all the online sources, like the articles, going through the various kind of courses. I completed a lot of courses even before it was made mandatory. I mean, I did it voluntarily. I wanted to know more. I mean, I wanted to just know what exactly the curriculum has, even before the curriculum is given to me. So online courses, and then reading the articles, then giving mock interviews, taking mock interviews. Taking interviews is also a very enriching experience in itself. If you know what kind of questions to ask, you will know their answers. So taking interviews, taking mock interviews, and then obviously like talking to as many seniors as possible, knowing about their experiences, what projects they worked on. Also, before any interview, before any company, please know that company inside out. For example, the products they work on, what kind of business they have, that makes a lot of difference, because they will ultimately, they will see how well you fit into their culture. And for that, you need to know them very well. It's not only that how much revenue they had last year, or how many employees they have. I mean, not that exactly, but their actual line of business. How is their value proposition different from their competitors? Knowing about their competitors as well. If it's a product-based company, have a research ready for 3-4 at least top competitors of that product-based company. If it's a consultancy firm, must know what exactly consultancy firms do, because apart from your role, you are at the end of the day going to be the HR of so and so company. So you're going to be working for them. So knowing them is extremely important. I mean, that is non-negotiable, I must say.
Thank you, ma'am, for the bullet points you briefed in the end. My next question is, as you earlier said, understanding one's behavior is an important aspect of human resource management, and interviewer often test students on this. So can you guide the students on how to tackle these questions? Any strategies you prepared for particularly this type of questions?
Behavioral questions, I must say that, as I said earlier as well, honesty is the key here, because they will just catch if you're making up a solution, and they will just know that if you actually believe in that or not. They have their ways, because only 2 years, only 2 years ago, I was on that side of the table when I was getting interviewed, and in 2 years, I'm on the other side. I take interviews myself now, and when I take interviews, I do not exactly stress more on the answers that they gave, because the answers can actually be made up. So, and what exactly the interviewer sees when once I take the interviews, I see the attitude, the body language of the candidate. I mean, if the candidate is getting stressed, if the candidate is fidgeting, the candidate is not really, if the smile that the candidate has, it's not very comfortable, you just know that it's not the real self of the candidate, it's just portraying something. So behavioral questions are only to assess how as a person you are, and how as a person you will be fitting in the organization. Human resource professionals are known to go the culture of the organization ahead, create the culture. And it's very important for them to have strong ethics in themselves. So behavioral questions are not always that you start moral policing. Sometimes you have to be strict, and sometimes you have to be polite, and they just know that if you have that all in the right balance as that is needed for their organization. So I must always suggest that for preparing for behavioral questions, situational based questions is extremely difficult. You just don't know what kind of question they are going to throw at you. So, and having a I'll also give you one good suggestion that really worked well for me, because whenever they gave me a question which was very complicated, maybe the situation is not very gray, black and white, it's having too many gray zones in it. So at that time, take a pause. It's absolutely fine to ask the interviewer to give you some time to think and to reflect, just to ensure that you are not rushing to any solution. You are thinking it through. You are gauging the pros and the cons of the solution that you are suggesting. So that is very important. They see that obviously, if you have an answer to it, if it's a direct question and you know that exactly this is what I'm going to do, then just go for it. But most of the times, the questions are not that direct, and you are always stuck in the gray zones. So just ask them. Ask them to clarify the question if you have not really understood it well. They really adore. I mean, it's very good. I mean, for the interviewer, as an interviewer, I myself have seen the candidates who really don't understand the question, but they start answering. It's very, it's not really a good experience as an interviewer. It's always good if you take 5 minutes of time, and then understand the question well, then address it. If you want to ask them to, maybe I'm not really comfortable in this answer, and very honestly just say that maybe I do not really have an answer to this. Not always you, and always not always having an opinion is not important. This is something which I want everybody to know. We always have this kind of an tension in mind that if I don't answer to this question, maybe I'll be losing out points. No, if you're not going to answer, then it's just that parameter you really don't want to disclose of yourself. Please ask the next questions. You're not wasting your time, and neither the interviewer's time. So these kind of, again, I'll just summarize it. So firstly, being very honest about your responses. Secondly, taking time and understanding the question first, then analyzing your response, what you exactly feel about it. If not, obviously 5 minutes is a long time. I'm saying that maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You have to be quick in that, but definitely if you need time, ask for time, and that is acceptable. And thirdly, always have a very positive outlook towards anything. I mean, don't get stressed out. It's just have a conversation. HR rounds are just conversations. I mean, they obviously they are interviews, but you will not really feel, if you're actually doing good in an interview, you will not really feel you're giving an interview. You just kind of a conversation with the other person. The person just wants to know you better. Last point, always ask yourself some questions. I mean, at the end, every interviewer sometimes asks, do you have any cross questions? Do you have any questions from us? Feel free to ask them questions. It makes them feel that you are interested in this position. At the end of the day, they are there to assess how well you fit into that. If you will not fit well if you're not interested, right? So your fitment totally depends on how much eagerness you have to actually have that position. So it's very important, to have. And obviously, you will have those questions ready only if you know something about the company. how it operates, what are the what are the functionalities and everything. So do your research, and you must be a very informed interview. I mean, be very informed, have questions, be inquisitive, and that's all.
So yes, ma'am. One thing I can surely say that honesty is the best policy here. Being true to yourself and to the interview works well. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely. That's on that.
can you tell us some specific points on which an HR student should focus, except the behavioral questions that the panelists asked generally in the interview processes?
But we have a subject known specifically in third semester, which deals with majorly the theories, organizational development. So organizational development is one of the very important topics which we must always focus on. And I think during our also the kind of if I'm talking from the final placements point of view, then from final placements point of view, your SIP becomes your USP, because most of the questions are going to revolve around it. If you have past work experience, then obviously there are going to be questions from if you are having a shift in the career. For example, I was myself an engineer and I switched to human resources. So very, maybe not 70, I'm not 70, 40% of my interview questions were in software. So if I really, I'm sure that I want to be in it. So this is one important thing that you have to be very, very much ready with your reason for choosing HR. Okay, so why HR is a question which is, everybody knows that I have to prepare for the interviews, but majorly people just skip it. And obviously, I am going to give you very HR specific answers. Pardon me for that. I really don't have much exposure to what a finance interview is going to look like, or an operations interview, or a marketing interview is going to look like. But from the HR point of view, I mean, case studies are extremely important, and the case studies which are very recent case studies, for example the ones which are released in the HBR Select, you go through them, always keep abreast with the updates that are there. There are many magazines which are online released on. So the last part was we used to go through the magazines which are the HR magazines specifically, go through the various case studies which are very recent, and always have an understanding of the whichever company is coming, the competitor organizations in that entire industry, in consulting, what exactly are the trends, the workforce. Obviously, most of the positions which are going to be, which you're going to be interviewed for, are going to be from the background. I mean, for talent acquisition team, or maybe very rarely we get any other profile as such. So source, recruiter, these are the majority of the profiles. So workforce management, and I mean, organization development is must, because it gives you an overall understanding of how the leaders think. Because at the end of the day, you will be finally getting interviewed by pretty senior people, and they will be thinking that way. They will have that in their mind. So and theory is obviously good to quote. No, but obviously do not give a very bookish answer to any of your questions, because it just turns the interviewer off. Really, the interview might think that you are not really having a practical approach towards your work. That should never come out. Quote them here and there, but do not exactly give them the definition, and do not ever give them a ratified definition. As what I say, understand it in your own words, explain it in your own words with your own relevant examples. So I mean, or with the example of a case study, like maybe this theory was being applied in this in the solution of this case study, and this is how they benefited from it. Figures are very important, because data is also very important component of human resource now, and it's totally HR driven. I mean, data driven. HR analytics is really growing like anything, and you have to be good with numbers. I'm not saying that you have to churn numbers and anything. Just have a few statistics points in your mind. Maybe this is the workforce involvement, and so people are so many people. I mean, this is the talent engagement. Use these kind of jargons, makes you look smart. I mean, honestly, you have to stand out amongst a crowd, and everybody is going to give this similar kind of answers. So these jargons, these examples, these insights can make a difference in your answers, and that's all. And obviously, with that, along with a good attitude. If you're stressed while thinking about it, that again gives a very wrong impression. Whatever you can easily remember at that point, bring it out onto the table.
Okay, ma'am, that was really good. So my next question is, as many companies come on campus offering different job roles in the HR field itself, how can a student decide for which role he or she should apply, or which is best for that person?
I say don't ever differentiate between roles. At least in the earlier, at this early stage of your career, you should not be that selective. I mean, you already have, got a specialization done. Other in other campuses, I mean, in IIMs, and always think through like you are at the end of the day competing with the workforce, not competing amongst yourself within your college students. So in your college, maybe in our college, maybe specializations are different, but in other colleges, maybe the colleges like IIMs or many other colleges, there are general management courses also, so they learn everything. So they are already there and out in the market. You will be competing with them when you are actually into the corporate world. So do not, keep yourself away from exploring. Even if you have interest in TA, if you are getting an HRBP role, go for it. At least appear for the interview. What you will learn out of it is maybe going to help you in the next HRTA in the talent acquisition interview. So I mean, always in the initial days, it's not good to be selective. It's not good to be choosy. You cannot eliminate your choices right in the beginning. You don't know how your career is going to start. We do not exactly understand what are the various verticals and how it's going to exactly help us. So at this stage, I never I even thought of restricting myself to any specific position. But yeah, but majorly, as I said, that mostly TA and recruitment roles are going to be coming in because those requirements are more. So because talent acquisition is, the marketing ka sales. You have to know it in and out, and only then you. I mean, not only then. I mean, it really shapes you up as an human resource professional. So I think that, yeah, apart from that, HRBP is a very good role wise, it's amazing. Compensation and benefits is good, but again, do not limit. Please keep your eyes and your horizon wide and open, and that will really help you in your career ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for throwing light on this point. As basically I've seen and I've also experienced that many of us tend to choose the roles and not sit for interviews which we don't like. So I'm sure this will be helpful for the students. So my next question is, while going through your LinkedIn profile, I came across to know that you were a part of the college placement cell, as you earlier mentioned also, and also some certifications you have done earlier. Can you tell us how have these helped you, what skills you developed, and also some suggestions related to certifications or courses that can benefit the students in the SIP as well as in the future process also? Some courses you would suggest us.
Courses in HR analytics can really help you, because in HR analytics so many things are happening. So, and everything cannot be combined and included in our syllabus. And also HR analytics, it's only there in the syllabus of HR core. Okay, I mean, specifically that was the case when I was there in the college, and according to the curriculum I was saying, and I was having HR minor, HR major and marketing minor. So I did not have have HR analytics in any of my semesters. So it helps. I mean, the more you learn, it's easier for you to articulate your answers, or your knowledge gets enhanced. HR analytics is something which is extreme. Any course from be it Udemy. I mean, obviously Coursera. It's more it's more detailed. So Coursera courses are good enough, and in HR analytics, focus on any course. I mean, obviously something which is very standard, and there are many paid courses as well. So if you want to go for paid courses, that's your choice. SHRM is also another institute which provides a lot of online courses. Then there is XLRI. XLRI also is having a lot of online courses, but those are all paid. You also need to have a certain years of experience to be eligible to avail those. So it's all having, many people they have experiences, many people they do not have any experiences. So it's a very specific interest based choice that a person needs to make. But apart from that, yes, the first question, being a part of the placement committee, how it helped, it really transformed me as a person. I was a core technical. I just knew that I want to be in HR. I wanted to work in a people facing role, but I do not know how prepared I was or how much capable I was until unless I actually started interacting with corporates day in and day out. I mean, the exposure that the cell gave me, I mean, it really helps me even today. Even I can, I mean, I do not really ever care like who is taking my interview. That person is the SVP or the VP or the CEO. I really do not get bogged down by their designations anymore. And that kind of confidence you get only when you have I mean, you have access to these people at the very early stage of your learning process. So for me, that was so natural, and it came so comfortably that, I mean, I cannot thank the cell. I mean, it's just amazing transformation it brought into me. And I was a very introvert person. I never knew that I can be a good speaker or I can really interact well with people. But for a human resource, it's absolute necessity that you have to be good in expressing your thoughts and good in polished in your communication skills. So communication skills, I mean, everybody has, but how polished, how refined it is, and that's just going to be based on the kind of exposure that you have. So I think it was a wonderful, wonderful journey there. It was a very difficult journey also. I must say it was not easy. Balancing work, balancing other. I was part of the dance team as well. So a lot of things together. That's part of the B school journey. It just grooms you into a very different person that you were the first when you are just entered, and then you leave, you are a very different person. So it was a really good exposure. I mean, at least some cell or some club, every student must be part of, just apart from the curriculum, just to engage, to I mean, do something different from the regular day-to-day curriculum. That also reflects very well in your CV. I'm not saying that it gives you a huge edge over something else. Or placement cell gives you something, some wings that you excel in all the interviews, get the best placements, nothing like that. Obviously, but it shows that you are an eager person to learn. You are a hardworking person. You want to balance out things. That's all. That's all.
Yes, ma'am, I can purely relate to this as being in a
Is there
cell.
any lag?
No, ma'am, no. Yeah, I was saying that I can purely relate to this. Being in a cell or a club definitely polishes our skills in a very different manners. Okay, so ma'am, my next question is, as in the interview processes, many students do face rejections. Many a times they face rejections. So what is your suggestion for how to deal with it? And how should a student stay motivated and prepare for the next best opportunity?
So rejection is very important part of the journey. You cannot say that anybody who has not been rejected in one interview in life. So either it has been earlier in your life, or it's going to be now. So rejection is the only thing which is actually going to give you the impulse to learn. Because if you just crack through the interview, you're not going to sit and understand or articulate the questions that you were asked or the answers that you gave. I mean, nobody is going to ever go back and think about the interview you have already cracked. You are only going to analyze the misdoings of the rejected interview, and then think over it, like what went wrong. So and eventually, if not today, if you're not thinking that through, if you're not doing that kind of introspection, where I went wrong, you're going to be the loser in the next round. So it's not that it's just today's interview. So the process is it becomes very stressful. I understand, because because companies after companies, many people are getting placed, and I understand it's very easy to say, but very difficult to keep yourself calm in that situation when your friends are getting placed and you're maybe not getting placed. So obviously the peer group you must have, your peer group defines you a lot. So you must have a good peer group who is supportive. So even if you do not get through, maybe your somebody from your group gets through, the rest of them should prepare you well. I mean, they should be there beside you until unless you all get placed, then you go out and enjoy. But I think that plays a very important role, and we really do not give much importance to the people we really hang out with. I chose the people whom I hanged out with very wisely, and I did not have that kind of stress. That's why. But many people, they get stressed out because ultimately they are going out, hanging out, and at the end of the day, during the interview preparations, they do not have really somebody to share their stress with, or so interviews, rejection, I mean, is the best way of learning. It's not maybe something which you can see now, but later on in your life, that interview I did this wrong, always going to stick into your mind, and you're not going to do that if you really want the job. When you really want the job. So interview rejections, I mean, I know it's easy to preach, but it is the only truth that you have to be very accepting. You have to understand that, yeah, it's just part of the race, and always think outside your college campus, that at the end of the day, so many MBA graduates from so many different colleges. Maybe today you are just competing 300 of you amongst yourself, but then tomorrow there will be 3 lakh of you, and then you'll be competing with your seniors for the same position. And just take it in a way that the interview is going to last throughout your corporate journey. You're going to switch. You're obviously going to switch your organizations, and do not think that it's only the college campus placements that matters. Life matters. So it's a long vision that you need to have, and then appear for the interviews. Not that only this interview is my end date, and isme nahi hua, then I'm nothing. It's just a starting. Even if you get through, don't be over the cloud 9 that I've got through. I do not have anything else to worry about. And even if you don't get, just have a very neutral stand. I mean, interview ko leke to always have a very neutral stand. During the preparation, be as much rigid or as much harsh on yourself as you want to be. During the interviews, you are the boss. Always during the interviews, you are going there with a winning nature, winning attitude. I'm there to own it. And even after that, then it's not for you. It's not the right fit. The right fit is it. That's so.
Okay, ma'am. So yeah, I can say that like learning from every interview is important rather than like sinking in that rejection thing. Learn it and move on. Better.
Just move on. Just move on. Next is always there. There's nothing else. Iske baad kuch nahi hai. Everybody get placed. Everybody get placed. It's just a matter of few months, few weeks, few days. That's all.
Okay, ma'am. So my next question is, as we have come to the end of the podcast, what is the one piece of advice that you would like to give the students who will be appearing for their SIP interviews, and also how Dell as a company pays importance to these HR practices, as you are a part of Dell? Yes.
So you asked me for one advice, right? So one advice is just going to be just own it. I mean, you have to take ownership of your preparation. I mean, you have to think. You have to think. Nobody is going to spoon feed you anything here. Even if somebody is spoon feeding you, that is his or her learning, and it might not be very relevant for you. So own it, and once you take the ownership of it, only then you will be sinking into the process of preparation. You will think of different ways. How can I do it differently? What else do I need to do? Kuch chhut to nahi gaya. I must not leave anything. Then and everything will fall into place. So it is not that that somebody just told you read these things and isme se kuch aa jayega. You will know that you are not prepared, because until unless you feel like what else do I need to prepare for myself, you are the best judge for yourself. So I think that's the only thing that is going to sail you through your internship, through your placements, through your next interviews. At the end of the day, it's only your self introspection which is going to help you out. How much better I can do, what is there in scope of improvement, and how much time do I have, if I'll be able to do it, what is the best fit for me. That's all. And about HR practices in Dell. Okay, honestly, it's an amazing organization once again. So I have worked with TCS, I have worked with Google, and then again now in Dell, and I've been extremely lucky. Organization wise, the organizations which are known for their culture. TCS is one. TCS, I mean, TCS, Google, Dell, they're all employee-friendly organizations to the best of themselves. I mean, really, I've been so lucky to be part of these organizations where they actually value human resource. Because any organization, they might have a lot of, and human resource. Why do we call resource? Because they are actually generating the revenue. Resource means something which is giving you the money out of it. So resource, I mean, should not always be on terms of how many hours of work you doing. It should also be how much quality work you are doing. And these organizations, they value quality over quantity. And extremely grateful uh, for being able to get these opportunities. And I just wish all the same for you all. I mean, as I said, that I was very happy when this Shubham called me up and said that can you please help us with this podcast. I was like, I would be more than happy, because very frequently I get calls, maybe randomly. So, but then this is a good way to reach out to many people at one time, at one go. And good initiative from the branding cell. I mean, amazing work being done. That's a great way to actually educate students out there. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind words. So, lastly, one motivation you would like to say that which can motivate HR students, the importance of HR in today's corporate world, and how should they be positive about working in further life in HR field?
See, HR, if you see that you will, most of them in the industry in general, people will say they make rangolis. Okay? And don't be bogged down by all this nonsense. We are actually doing very much of an important task. If you do not bring the right people as a talent acquisition specialist, the company is going to fail. If you do not give them the good working environment, or the culture that they want to stay, people are not going to stay. Give them as much money as when the working culture is bad, the people are going to leave. The attrition is going to kill the organization. So it's absolute rubbish if somebody bogs you down with such statements like they just make rangolis and play make people play antakshari or passing the ball. All these things, always used to, people used to come, and I used to just ignore like anything. Like they always used to say, we do more serious stuff like marketing, we generate revenue. You are generating revenue because you are being hired at the first place. Who is hiring you? The HR is hiring you. So HR is the face of the organization. The first person you're going to get into contact before entering into the organization is an HR. The last person you're going to see before the organization is also going to be an HR. So your salary is going to be determined by the HR. Everything is. I mean, you cannot ignore. It's a very, very important, and then all these nonsense that AI is going to take away the jobs of the HR. The job is going to get absolutely nonsense. Do not listen to all these things. Have confidence that the work that you are doing is amazing. You are there to make a difference in somebody's life. You must have that motive clear, like why you chose HR in the first place, and stand by it. Even if you do not get the placement you want today, you'll get it tomorrow. That's not a problem. But you must be happy with the work that you're doing, and that goes for all the streams. I mean, be it a marketing professional or a finance professional, you must be very happy and involved with the work that you do. You must be passionate about it. And I think for me personally, my passion for HR worked, and it worked so well. I mean, you can see me smiling even today after a Monday. I mean, throughout the entire Monday was pretty hectic, but I'm smiling now. That means I'm enjoying my work. So this must be your target, not cracking some fancy interview. That will happen sometime in your life. But wherever you are, just enjoy the work that you do, enjoy the life you own, because you are the owner of it. At the end of the day, you're going to be the owner of many other lives. Have pride in it. Just ignore it ever.
Oh, thank you, ma'am, for all those positive. I must say these will motivate students and keep up their spirit high. Thank you, Sayantani ma'am, for joining us today on the podcast. Your inputs on the SIP preparations will surely help us, and we are so grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you for guiding us and sharing your strategies for the betterment of students. I would also like to thank our audience today for spending some time with us. The SIMS branding cell hopes that this season was insightful and helpful to the students. With this, we come to the end of third season of Anubhav, the official podcast of SIMS. Next year, we will be back with another enthralling season of Anubhav. Till then, if you like this episode and Anubhav 3.0, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends who will be preparing for their SIP and help them prepare for the same. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for being on the podcast. It was nice talking to you.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for having me here. Thanks a lot, Jagriti. Thanks a lot, Anusha. Thanks to Shubham for coordinating so well. Thanks to the entire branding team.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So this podcast was brought to you by the SIMS Branding Cell. Anusha Gupta signing off.